One more thing about the Bush administration's view of torture and their contention that they never violated the Geneva Conventions. A noted reckless liberal by the name of General David Petraeus says he disagrees.
When we have taken steps that have violated the Geneva Convention, we rightly have been criticized. And so as we move forward, I think it's important to, again, live our values, to live the agreements that we have made in the international justice arena, and to practice those.
That is the head of U.S. Central Command, the man once in charge of running the war in Iraq, publicly stating his belief that thanks to Bush Cheney, we broke international law. Witness for the prosecution, anyone? Dick Cheney and his daughter Liz have now made so many appearances on television that it is becoming statistically unlikely that they will be able to continue to reject the advances of this show for long. Ultimately, if they keep doing this much TV, one or both of them is going to end up as a guest on this show just as a rounding error. And if that happens, please, 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 we pretty much know exactly what they will want to talk about.
There are reports that show specifically what we gained as a result of this activity.
There are documents that show the intelligence we gained from that program.
But when you've got memos out there that show precisely how much was achieved and how lives were saved as a result of these policies, they won't release those.
Well, gosh, he's going to the National Archives. I'm happy to provide them with the room number of the office he needs to go to if he wants to just declassify the memos while he's there.
So far, they've refused to put out memos that were done by the CIA that I've requested be declassified that show the positive results of the detainee program.
The memos are sort of the focus right now because these memos do show the effectiveness of the program.
Every interview, they both go on and on and on about these memos, unrebutted and unchallenged. These are the memos that prove that torture works. Nobody ever challenges them on this because the memos are classified. So no one can fact-check the Cheneys on whether what they're saying is true. If only there were someone else who had also seen these memos, who could tell us whether Dick and Liz Cheney are telling the truth about what these memos actually say. If only there was someone. Ta-da! Turns out that that someone does exist. Senator Carl Levin, chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and that apparently is a job that gives him access to these same memos that Dick and Liz Cheney have been using to make their torture works arguments on the TV every day. Here's what Senator Levin had to say about them this week at the Foreign Policy Association annual dinner.
Mr. Cheney claimed last week that President Obama's decisions have made us less secure and that abusive interrogation techniques worked. Mr. Cheney's claims are directly contrary to the judgment of our FBI director, Robert Mueller, that no attacks on America were disrupted due to intelligence obtained through the use of those techniques. Mr. Cheney has also claimed that the release of classified documents would prove his view that the techniques worked. But those classified documents say nothing about numbers of lives saved, nor do the documents connect acquisition of valuable intelligence to the use of abusive techniques.
So no matter what they say is in those memos, other people who've seen those memos say they say something different. That's apparently how you talk back to Dick Cheney. Joining us now is my friend Steve Bannon, who writes for WashingtonMonthly.com. Thanks for coming on the show, Steve. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks, Rachel.
Is this Carl Levin calling the Cheneys bluff? Do I sort of have this right in terms of what he's saying here?
Absolutely. I think that Carl Levin has had enough. He's watched Cheney on the networks. He's seen Liz Cheney everywhere. And he's saying, look, I've seen the same memos. I know what's in those memos. I know the truth. And Dick Cheney isn't telling it. And he did it in a very diplomatic way. He said that Dick Cheney was bearing false witness, which I think is a very classy way of saying that Dick Cheney's lying. But either way, Carl Levin has had enough, and he's out there and setting the record straight.
Carl Levin is not known for gratuitously picking political fights. And so is it the fact that it's him, that it's Carl Levin, does that affect the significance of this rebuke? Does that affect how we should see the impact of this politically?
I think so. I don't I mean, Carl Levin's been around for a long time. He has a reputation for having stature, having credibility with members of both parties, with the media. He's not known as an ideologue. He's not known as a partisan bomb thrower. And for the fact that he came out and did this, he introduced his remarks by saying he intended to talk about Obama and talking about how he's satisfied with the direction that we're on foreign policy-wise, but he felt so compelled to speak out against Cheney because Cheney has been so dishonest of late. I think that Carl Levin's unique stature lends this significance that may not be tied to a different senator had another senator given the same speech.
Well, Steve, we've been wading through this Cheney family media tour all of this time. It's been, I mean, I thought that when he gave the American Enterprise Institute speech, then he was going to go away, but he's still doing interviews since then, as is his daughter. And we've been waiting all this time for someone else who has seen these memos to make exactly the argument that Senator Levin has now made. So when these claims from the Cheneys are discussed now, either by third parties or by the Cheneys themselves, should they at least be labeled as contested claims now? They never get rebutted when they're making these cases.
Right. I think that's part of the reason that Carl Levin did this. I mean, to a certain extent, it sets up a he said situation. On the one hand, Cheney has seen the memos and he claims one thing. Carl Levin has seen the same memos. He's claiming something else. But I think it's worth remembering, these are not two people of equal credibility here. I mean, on the one hand, Carl Levin has a reputation for being a straight shooter, for being honest. On the other hand, we have Dick Cheney, who has a reputation for being Dick Cheney. And so given that, one person of the two has earned the benefit of the doubt, and I'll give you a hint, it's not the vice president.
President Bush gave a speech in Michigan last night in which he said essentially that torture works. I wonder if you think, Steve, if the whole debate starts boiling over again, all over again now that it's not just Cheney, but also former President Bush is weighing in on the subject too.
Yeah, but you notice how it has a Groundhog Day quality to all of this? Yeah. We could have seen the same speech from Bush and Cheney a month ago or 4 months ago or a year or 2 years ago. They want to restart the debate again, but the facts haven't changed. They're still wrong, and Carl Levin is still right.
Steve Bannon from WashingtonMonthly.com. Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, Steve. It's great to see you.
Thank you.